They wanted to bury the whole book. They said, we already have 23 other books of the Nevi'im. This 24th is a problem because of the last pasuk in this week's Hatorah. V'chol nevela utreifa lo yoichlu b'nei ha-kohanim. The kohanim are not allowed to eat a nevela or a treifa. What do you mean a kohen can't eat a nevela treifa? No Jew is allowed to eat a nevela treifa. It's a lav in the Torah. What does this pasuk mean? Kohanim cannot eat a nevela or treifa. So they wanted to be goynez the whole Yecheskel. Actually, there's a pasuk in this week's parsha that's somewhat problematic. It says that the kohanim cannot contaminate themselves to a mace. They cannot uviv saram la yisratu sarates. They can't gouge themselves. They can't scratch themselves. Then it says lo sakifu paas roishchem v'lo sashchis eis paas kanecha. They can't use a razor on their face. They can't be sakif paas roishchem. By the way, it's haircut season, and many people are not aware, and it's a pretty popular style these days, especially among Jews who are their hair is beginning to thin. So if their hair on top has gone already, so they like to shave the sides of their head very closely, and they leave almost little bristles in the payas area. It's too short. Even if you use scissors, the halacha is that the hair on the side of the face has to be a certain length, and it's problematic even if scissors are used. So one has to be careful to tell the barber not to use the machine in the area of the payas at all. I'm not talking about growing long payas like the derech of Hasidim. That's their tradition. But any Jew, any observant Jew has to be careful that the payas are that the hair coming out of the sides of the head is a certain length. You cannot have those buzz cuts in that area. In any event, why does the Parsha say that Kohanim are not allowed to encircle Pa'as Roishchem, or they can't be Mashchis Pa'as Kanecha? No Jew's allowed to use a razor. No Jew's allowed to gouge over a mace. And as the last pasuk in the Hatorah says that Kohanim cannot eat a nevela or a treifa, no Jew's allowed to eat a nevela or treifa. What's the meaning of this pasuk? So why weren't they goynez Sefer Yecheskel? What's been on my mind this week is the appropriateness of reading Parshas Emor in preparation for the Yom Tif of Shavuos. We know this principle, Davar Yafa Be'itai, that the Parshios we read at a certain time are appropriate to that time of the year. Why is Parshas Emor appropriate as a preparation for the Yom Tif of Shavuos? And why is it important for Yisraelim in general? Maybe Yisraelim should take a week off this week. Only Kohanim need to know about the elevated status of the kahuna, that they can't contaminate to mesim. How is it relevant at all to Yisraelim? And especially, how is it relevant in preparation for the Yom Tif of Shavuos? We just came back from a trip to Belarus, where one of the amazing stops we went was Volozhin, the first of all yeshivas, which started in 1803. The building began in 1806. And one of the great principles of Reb Chaim Volozhiner is the concept of Yiras Shamayim, which we literally translate to mean the fear of heaven. What does that mean, the fear of heaven? Does that mean the fear of punishment? Reb Chaim Volozhiner develops an idea in Nefesh HaChaim, Shar Aleph, Parak Daled, Parak Gimel, and Ruach Chaim, Parak Daled, Mishnah Gimel, that we know that when Titus HaRasha went into the Holy of Holiest and he committed the unspeakable act on a Sefer Torah, he received no visible punishment immediately or thereafter in this world. Nothing seemed to happen, even though he committed the most egregious sin in the holiest place on earth. And yet when Nadav and Avihu went into the Beis HaMikdash and they brought a fire to honor Hashem, their lives were snuffed out immediately. How do we account for this difference? So Nefesh HaChaim advances a very amazing principle. The difference is, are you plugged in or are you not plugged in? The actions of a Jew have universal reverberations and ramifications in all the olamais. Above our world, there are many, many worlds. There's Olam HaYitzira, Olam HaBriya, Olam HaAtzilos, and each world consists of many, many parts. And through our actions, we sanctify and we elevate and we infuse Kedusha in all the Olamais. We discussed this on Wednesday night in the mitzvah of Kedusha, that we're Mekadesh the entire universe. And when we sin, heaven forbid, we destroy olamos, we destroy worlds. The actions of a Jew have universal ramifications. The Nefesh HaChaim writes in Shar Aleph Parak Dalet, V'zois Tairas HaAdam, Kol Ish Yisrael, every Jewish man, Al Yoimar Beliba, should not say in his heart, Chas v'Shalom, Ki ma ani, what am I? Uma koichi lifal b'masai hashvalam. What is my ability to effectuate in my lowly actions? Shum inyan ba'olam. No, says the Nefesh HaChaim, Shar Aleph Parak Gimel, Ki b'masav v'divurav u'machshavois v'atoivim, with your actions and words and thoughts that are good, hu mekayim, he upholds v'noisein koyach, and gives strength, b'chama koichos v'olamos al yanim hakadoshim, with many powers and upper worlds. He adds sanctity and light. And he says in the opposite, through one's acts, words, or thoughts that are not good, he destroys many koichos and olamos al yanim. La'ein erech v'shir. The Nefesh HaChaim writes in Ruach Chaim, Perkei Avos, Parak Daled, Mishnah Gimel. This is what it means, Yiras Shamayim, Moira Shamayim, to be afraid of the kilkul that takes place in the heaven. Therefore, we refer to the Olamos El Yonim. There, the kilkul or the tikkun is more apparent and more potent. The Nefesh HaChaim writes in a footnote in Shar Aleph Parak Dal, this is what it means. Da ma lemala mimcha. No, whatever takes place above, it's from you. It's from you. When did we become plugged in to creation, that our actions have these universal ramifications? Because only the actions of a Jew have universal ramifications. Titus Harasha, as terrible of an Avera he did, the thing is, he's not plugged in. So his actions are limited in scope. His actions are of minor significance. As terrible as it may seem, it has no universal and worldly ramification. Not so, friends, the act of a Jew. Any Jew is plugged into creation. The Nefesh HaChaim says the act of any Jew, even his words or even his thoughts. The Ramchal, in the Das Tavunais, he says the analogy of this is a Kohein. A Kohein, when he does the Avodah, he's masaking the whole world. And a Zar, a non-Kohen who does Avodah, he doesn't rectify anything, he's actually Chayiv Misa. Even a Kohen, if he does the Avodah without his begadim, he's also like a Zar. So it's all dependent on, are you given license to do this service? Says the Nefesh HaChaim, says the Das Tavunais, the Ramchal and Sefer Das Tavunais, the power invested in a Jew in his actions, the analogy is the acts of a Kohen. Says the Ramchal, do you know when the Jew became plugged into creation? The Ramchal says at Har Sinai. At Har Sinai, the Ramchal says we were not given the whole Torah, but what we were given is the hachana and the empowerment that our actions have universal ramifications. When we came to Har Sinai, Hashem gave us the majesty, the glory, to have the power that our actions send sanctity or can cause catastrophe throughout the entire world. This is the meaning of Karvanu Lefnei Har Sinai. Hashem brought us close in order to endow us with this power. This is what it means. V'keravtanu l'shimcha hagado. Hashem brought us close, that we are the ones who sanctify all of creation. Says the Ramchal, Hashem invested in us. Shema'asehem ba'avodasu yasu hapri hatoiv hamitztorech letukun habriya. That our good actions create the ramifications to rectify the bria. This is what it means. V'atem tiyu li mamleches kohanim. You should be a kingdom of priests. In a certain sense, every single Jew is a Kohein. We might not get the first Aliyah. We might not be able to go into the Mikdash. But in terms of being clergy, that our service, our rituals, our putting on talis, tefillin, tefillah, Torah, chesed, that these actions send out sanctification throughout all the various olamos. In that sense, every single Jew is a Kohein, and it was invested in us at Matan Torah when Hashem told the Jewish people, "V'atem tiyu li mamlechas kohanim v'goy kadosh." Says Harav Avigdor Miller Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. That is why the Torah specifically gives lavin to kohanim, and then repeats that those lavin apply to every Jew. It says that a Jew cannot gouge himself over a mace, cannot encircle his hair on his head, cannot destroy the beard of his face with a razor. And then it says Kohanim can't do that, but no Jew could do it. It's to teach that no Jew could do it because of the dimension that they have as a Kohen. No Jew is allowed to eat an avelo treifa. But it says specifically at the end of the Hatorah, Parshas Emor, the Kohanim can't eat an avelo treifa. So we understand that no Jew could eat an avelo treifa because of the Jew's dimension of being a Kohen. And therefore, Parshas Emor is so appropriate as a preparation for the Yom Tov of Shavuos, because what is Kabbalas Hatorah? It's the investment that God endowed us with, that He elevated us all to the status of Kohanim, to be V'atem tiyuli mamleches Kohanim v'goy kadosh. And therefore, as a preparation for the Yom Tov of Shavuos, we read Emor el HaKohanim b'nei Aaron. We read about the elevated status of the Kahuna. We have to guard this status and cherish this status to propel us to appreciate our role as Kohanim in observing the Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wishing everyone a git tevach, a gezin tevach, a mazel tekavach.